Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our December 12th, 2024 Airport Advisory Board meeting. Kayla, would you mind start kicking us off and call and roll?
Chairperson.
Present.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see everyone this evening. First item, as always, on our agenda is public invited to be heard. We do not have a sign-up list tonight, but anyone who would like to is welcome to come.
Oh, go ahead. You're fine. I have to bring up my notes.
You both know the rules here, but I will repeat them anyway. If you can start with your name and address, 5 minutes. A direct comment to the...
applaud, okay? All right.
Shouldn't be a problem tonight, right?
Levi, can you turn on the microphone, please?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's on the right.
Right one. There we go.
Thank you.
All righty, here we go. Scott Stewart, 229 Grant Street. Hi, Chairman Earl, members of the board. Hopefully this will be quick. During last month's closing statements, one of the board members was explaining why the fee was cut for the administrative transfer fee. Kind of the reasoning behind that was that the airport only had one person, and it was an extreme amount of work for one person or what have you. The reference was made about golf. Golf has multiple people. I think the statement was tons of people. Well, golf actually pays for those people. Airport could have more people if the airport wanted to pay for more people. That's not a problem. You guys could put it in your budget. Pays for those people, and it also pays for 100% of the management services fees that it's charged, because you guys aren't alone. They're not just charging you. They're charging golf as well. The information is not hard to find. Just open up the budget and look at the personal services. Personal services is basically what you're paying for your people. Golf administration, $193,000. Sunset Golf Course, $315,000. Twin Peaks, $500,000 plus. Ute Creek, $672,000 plus. That's $1.69 million that the golf is paying for their employees, and they're getting those funds through fees. They're charging tee fees, they're charging golf cart fees, they're charging all of those fees. In contrast, one person at the airport, $240,000. That's what it's costing. So if you want more people, you just raise the funds. Golf. The rates for golf fees annually, annual passes, and other golf services are established so that at least 100% of the expenditures identified in the golf operating budget, including the full administrative transfer fee, will be recovered. It's a policy of the city. Charge the fees, get the people, not a problem. Airport fees. Part of the policy, fees and charges will be reviewed annually to determine the operating expenditures are recovered. Start doing it. You're either going to have to charge more. You know, I'm talking about operational landing fees or something like that, so you guys can generate a little bit more money, because I don't think the people that own hangars should be just hit with a heavier bill and be required to pay for all of this just through hangar fees, because that's the majority, the overwhelming majority of the revenue that you guys have coming in. Little thing from the FAA, 5190.6B, it's self-sustainability. The chapter provides guidance for requirements for the airport remaining self-sustaining as possible under specific circumstances. 17.4, self-sustaining principles. Airports must maintain a fee and rental structure that makes the airport as financially self-sustaining as possible under the particular circumstances at that airport. You guys taking FAA money, you got to start abiding by what the FAA requires. I understand. Well, I'm not going to go any further. Short and sweet. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
John Grunsfeld, 229 Airport Road, my business. And actually, I'm largely in agreement with what the gentleman just said, that, you know, the airport should generate more revenue. And one way to do that is to have a nice FBO that people want to come in from outside that not only generates revenue on fuel sales that benefits the city, on tie-down fees that benefit the city, but they spend, a lot of money in the city when they come and spend 3 or 4 days doing business with the city plus whatever business generates. But I was at the council meeting a week ago, where there were all the folks who came and showed pictures of the pattern traffic and complained about the noise. 2 things about that. One, which you already know, it would be crazy to approve high-density housing on final approach to runway 29 to generate thousands more people who are sitting right under the pattern, and in fact closer than anybody else who's come and spoken. But the last couple of months, I would say, flying into Longmont for me has been way more hazardous. I don't know why, but those folks are exactly right. Our traffic just keeps going up and up. And about an hour and 10 minutes ago, I had a near midair coming into the pattern. It's dusk, and there was a student plane with an instructor that was sort of outside of the pattern, not necessarily heading towards the airport. And so I was cleared by Denver with, telling me where the traffic was, cleared for the visual. There were other people in the pattern, but further off. And as I came down, they suddenly turned towards the airport, and I got a traffic warning and, had to avoid the other aircraft. So a couple of things on that. And these are very fixable, Levi. When you listen to the ATIS, it says, go to the city webpage to hear about the noise abatement procedure. And you go to the website, and you really have to dig and go 3 clicks to open a document to find the noise abatement procedure. Students aren't going to do that. They're not going to make it that far, I think. I had to search for it. And it ought to be if it can be in the airport flight directory, and it ought to be at the start of the homepage, right up top, when somebody goes to the Longmont website. Levi, I think, has to ask the FAA to put something in the airport flight directory. And I think on our ATIS, instead of saying go to the website, if you listen to the ATIS, go to the website and find the noise abatement procedure, I think it should say, this is just my opinion, avoid touch and goes from dusk to dawn. I think that would go a long way to solve our problems. The noise abatement is 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., but at least dusk to dawn. So this time of year, it'd be like 4:30 till 7:30 or 8 a.m. I guess dawn's probably 7:30. Or it can say, avoid touch and goes from 8 p.m. to, or you could make it winter and just change it, say 6 p.m. to 8 a.m., since you control what's on the ATIS. And I don't know if that'll really have any effect, but at least it's repeated, every 30 seconds. So, and they have to get the ATIS to come in. Anyway, thanks. I think that's something that the Airport Advisory Board could advise Levi and then report to the City Council. Councilmember McCoy was at that meeting. And, the people talking about the noise did touch me. I think it was a little exaggerated, but, and then finally, either Levi should acquire an ADSB receiver to a PC that records the data, or sign up, log on and pay for the expensive, $10 a month for ADSB exchange to start collecting data on what flight schools are the worst offenders, and then specifically go visit those schools and say, hey, you're risking, all kinds of things. Now, my opinion, and it's not shared by many of my fellow pilots at the Longmont Airport, is that we ought to go ahead and do what Fort Collins Loveland did and get not a remote tower, but a portable tower, and then control the traffic. Way safer, and that will change the dynamic so that it's much more controlled. Expensive, but the FAA will pay for it if we request it. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I will close our first public invited to be heard, and we move on to approval of November 2024 minutes. Board members, any changes, corrections to the minutes? Mr. Dean.
Yes, well, under call to order, line 7, Airport Advisory Board meeting was called to order by chairperson, so it should be Chairperson Earl at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anyone's? I've got a couple here otherwise. Bottom of page 1, line 35, Levi, question for you. It says there's 5 contractors placed bids, but I thought that was a pre-bid meeting, so I think it was 5 contractors attended. Is that correct? Or did you get 5 bids?
We did get 5 bids.
All right, never mind.
Yeah. I was trying to think if we had gotten the bids in by that point or not. Either way, it is correct.
All right, fine. Then on page 2, line 18, he is recommending that they reinstate, not reinstated. And then page 3, line 2, we have the word in there equally, that the board recommend that all candidates are equally qualified, and because we ranked them by their scores, I don't think equally is appropriate there. So I think we're all candidates were qualified, so I'd just strike the word equally. Does anyone have any other ones that they noticed, or I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Salamatian. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dean. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes approved. We are on to updates from the airport manager. Levi,
All
take it
right.
away.
I got a quick list here. I'll pause in between individual items for questions. Let's see. Quick updates on some stuff we've already been talking about. Fence project moving forward. In fact, it's just about done. Material is pretty much up. Gates, there's a few gates that have some work left to be done, but that's pretty much it. Apart from that, we almost have a complete working wildlife fence around the airport. Hooray. That should be done within next 3 or 4 business days completely. Should be. In fact, the engineers kind of came out today to do kind of the final look around and give it the thumbs up. So it should be pretty much done. Quick note of kind of airport interest, kind of also general city interest. The transportation department did launch their microtransit program. I'm not sure who's heard about that. Of course, I'm sure Mr. McCoy has heard about that. I think that's a great thing in general and very good for the airport. They were kind enough to put a drop spot right in front of the FBO on the airport, so there it is, well looped into that new system. That's great. Yep. I did last Tuesday. Go ahead.
Mr. McCoy.
Could you tell the folks the pricing on that?
Oh, if I recall correctly, it's $2 a ride, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
which-
if you have special circumstance, it's $1.
Oh, okay.
So,
Excellent.
like if you're, I think it's if you have some sort of handicap or some sort of thing like that.
Yeah.
And free for an intro period.
Yeah, and but it's pretty. Sorry. Yes, there is an app.
Yes. So highly recommended and came to great, the joy of the elite aviation also. So, when they have people fly in and ask for their crew car, since they don't have a crew car, they can direct them now to the microtransit program. An affordable way of getting into the back and forth into town there. It's great.
Vice Chair Jordan.
I've got a family member staying at the house, and she doesn't have her car, so we downloaded the app, and she was going to try it out. I don't think she has yet, but
Okay. Well, you have to
we were
report
looking at-
back next time.
I know, because that was, they were hoping to have it for the air show, and so I've been watching, and then I knew she was coming back, sans vehicle, because she helped somebody move, and I thought, well, we'll get a chance to run it out. So I think it's. And I like the promo period, but it's a turnkey solution that the city picked up, so it's, there's no bugs really. It's already been tested out and used, so it's not we're not beta testing something. It's been in place in other towns, so it's a cool addition.
Yep.
Mr. Dean.
Yeah, quick question, Levi. What was the final cost in the wildlife fence?
I don't have it in front of me. I'd have to get that information for you.
Okay.
Vice Chair Jordan.
When you mentioned the fencing, I wanted to say congratulations, because that's never been done.
How long is it? 10 plus years, I think it's
Yeah.
been hanging out there.
Yeah.
And that was officially our first project with Garver. So I'm
Okay.
glad it wasn't a giant project, that first one, because there was some growing pains between Garver, the airport, and procurement, trying to get everybody on the same page and what is possible and wasn't possible. But we got it taken care of. We got it done, grants in on time, everything under the deadline, so that was good.
Good job.
Yeah.
That has been, since I've sat here, that's been undone.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
All righty.
Mr. Meester.
What is the application name?
What is the what?
The app name?
Oh, Ride Longmont.
Okay.
It's opening it up for me, but it's Ride Longmont.
It's not just for the airport, or is it?
No.
just-
Oh, it's for the whole city.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, if you will, it's kind of like the city Uber, if you will.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think 6 cars.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
They'll be in the.
Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chair and Earl. It's, I believe there's 6 cars, if I'm not mistaken, and you might share a ride with somebody to make it that price point affordable. But it's great for that, and I didn't know that it had that connection to the airport. I think that is absolutely great, because that's exactly, I mean, we can't talk the talk and everything. This is the opportunity to have the argument of why, people land, use our facilities, our restaurants, stuff like that. Take a moment to walk around Longmont, get back, and then in their planes and go back for whatever certifications they're trying to do those sort of day trips for. So this is the model.
Vice Chair Jordan.
I was going to ask, so are they going to be in the parade tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay,
Again,
or
yes.
Saturday night? Okay, so
Yes,
they're going to
they-
be in the parade. I
One,
remember
one will,
council.
and I
One.
believe the mayor will be riding in it, maybe another council member, and everything. But yeah, the others are going to be on call,
Yeah,
so that they're out there for people to get around.
And
Yeah.
then, second question, do we still have a crew car at Longmont? I never need
No,
one.
Elite Aviation does not have a crew car.
No crew car. So we don't even, most airports have a crew car, so you can use that. And it's, one, maybe some places have 3 or 4, but.
That's true,
it's-
and it used to be kind of a staple, small airports, not to butt in, but
Yeah.
over the last few years, you are seeing them less and less, because insurance and liability has kind of gone through the skyrocket the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 years
I
about them.
believe it. So this is the other one I had tried to get a bicycle, at least get bikes there, or
Yeah.
the e-bikes, so that people could motor around, but the weather isn't always great for that. So this is really good, because we do want them to leave the airport if Alexis isn't open with the grill,
Right.
and go in and get something to eat. And that's what we do when we go other places.
Well, exactly, and the thing that's so cool about this is that one of their primary locations is the Innovation Center with everything. So it's, they talk about, in their presentation to us, they pointed out, I think, like 10 different locations, which were not absolutely the only designated spots, but one was Longmont High, one was Skyline High, one was Silver Creek, and then the Innovation Center. And kids, sometimes we, as teachers, you'll have a kid that misses the bus. Now they can, if they're 13 years or older, can travel on one of these things by themselves. So that's the, and that's Colorado law, the 13-year-old status. So parents can pay for that and get around that way.
All right. All right. Some other items. Last week I was able to meet with the airport managers of Rocky Mountain Metropolitan and Centennial Airport together. We actually met at Rocky Mountain Airport and had lunch, and we talked about a myriad of things, including to the point of kind of why I really want to go to my main point was talking about flight instructor meetings and noise abatement programs and stuff like that. So we talked about House Bill 1235, how the required noise abatement programs are moving forward. Rocky Mountain just released theirs. Centennial has an established one that they tweaked just a little bit for theirs. Our noise abatement program has preliminarily got the thumbs up from CDOT also. So we're all kind of complete on that. And I did bring up the idea of getting together again the flight instructor meetings like we had pre-pandemic. Rocky Mountain Metro has already kind of started doing that. And I do have a direct promise from them to be included on any future communications regarding flight instructor meetings from Rocky Mountain Metropolitan. And then, of course, I can start to try organizing that and getting some of our flight schools down there. I bounced the idea also off of Centennial about having essentially a front range flight instructor meeting, and got positive comments back from that. So that's good. Thinking that everyone kind of agreed that it would be a good idea, and it's just a matter of organizing that and getting actually people to the table. So those meetings will continue with the various airports moving forward. It is our intent to have quarterly meetings. It is our intent to invite the top 5, as CDOT has identified in the state of airports, which are Erie, Boulder, Longmont, Centennial, and Rocky Mountain Metropolitan, as far as high-profile targets that require noise abatement programs and stuff like that. So hopefully that will continue on as quarterly meetings. Any questions about that, since that was kind of a big topic item there?
Vice Chair Jordan.
So Division of Aeronautics is involved?
Division of Aeronautics was involved in House Bill 1235.
Right, okay.
Essentially, House Bill 1235 gave the Division of Aeronautics kind of the leeway to identify which airports in the state require or fall under essentially the 1235's requirement to have a noise abatement program, and we were one of them.
Are they doing presentations, or are they, is that an option to do like education? I'm thinking of social flight.
What's the question?
So I get every week an email with webinars and fly-ins and EAA meetings, and it's a nice calendar that tells you everything that's going on for your area. And between the different flight organizations and AOPA, EAA, they'll do presentations on like mountain flight. It's not the whole course, but they're giving a presentation about it. And this might be something that if we could get, and they often do them in person at Metro, they're usually there.
And you're talking about the EAA?
The EAA, but it's not just them. There's other groups I belong to that, it's not 99s or Women Aviation, but it's some of the other groups. And so they will do sponsor clinics, store like bush pilots or different topics. And if this could be a presentation, if it's coming from Division of Aeronautics, it gives it a different weight than all of us just clamoring about noise. You know what I'm saying? That if it's more of a front range, our airports have experienced an increase. We're causing, more air traffic congestion. We need to be mindful of our neighbors. We need to follow these, and just how to be advocates of aviation by being aware of the impact and aware of the mitigation that's being proposed and needs to be followed.
So
More
what was
like
the question again? You want
do
a
you think
CDOT
that-
presentation?
Yeah, would Division of Aeronautics do something like that, or?
I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
They're kind of their directive from House Bill 1235 is essentially to communicate with us and require us to have
Okay.
a noise abatement program, and then kind of what we're moving forward with is getting those to high target items of the flight and stools that through these instructor meetings and stuff like that. For the general community, that might be something I would guess, and again, the EAA or another AOPA might be
That's
more
where my
able.
thoughts started. Yeah, it was EAA 99s.
Yeah.
They all have monthly meetings, and to bring it up at those, and any other organizations that are available. And then AOPA is still looking for a representative in this area, a
Okay.
volunteer. And I don't know if you guys get those requests, but I did, and I noodle it, but it does have a bit of a requirement that I'm not sure I can do right now. So they're still looking for somebody in the area to be a representative on the AOPA side. So I'll send you my next social flight. I'll get one tomorrow. I'll send it to you, and you'll see it's like Barry Schiff and, like I said, bush pilots, or the time my engine went out at night over the Rockies, that kind of stuff. So it's all different formats, but something like this could be, there's a lot of education in there, so something like this could be put in there, because if we don't do this, we're all at risk, and if we do, we're going to improve the situation for everybody. So it seems worthwhile. I'll take a look at it with that perspective. Originally, I was thinking of some of the groups I'm in that have monthly meetings, and we'll have special speakers, and I think the more you can get it out there, the better.
Yeah.
So, okay. Again, to the noise abatement and being a good neighbor and limiting, touch and goes and things like that. So there's plenty of topics. And again, just the more it gets out there and from different voices, and to know that it's jeopardizing our freedom to fly around here. It's, that's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any more on that subject?
I'm glad you're having those meetings. I appreciate the update. This was something that came up in the city council meeting last month that, that communication getting out there. I mean, you've heard some comments and noise abatement's next, so I won't kind of go in there that, we may need to tweak things, but I'm glad those meetings are taking place.
Yeah.
I would also suggest, and I will not be there because of my day job this year, but the Colorado Airport Operators Association meeting in January, where you will have most of the airport managers around, maybe a good forum to kind of just grab folks informally and
And we've been
kind of
doing
force
it
some
for a while.
conversations.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good, and we're building momentum now, which is great. And I'm kind of glad to see the new format where we're trying to get more together at the same time. Whereas before, in the previous years, I've been trying to grab all the managers in one at a time, which is certainly useful. But I really felt that our meeting last week when we had 3 people at the same time was great because we had 3 people bouncing ideas off a little more rapid speed, which was really nice. Alrighty.
Thank you for those updates.
Oh, yeah. Got a few more updates for you. Master drainage plan is theoretically completely done with all the engineering work done and all the city's concerns being met. We have not had the final meeting going over it all yet, which should be next week, but theoretically, and I've been saying this since June, it is pretty much done at this point. So I've been assured that we are indeed at the end of the tunnel. Again, having said that, I'll believe it when I see it. And last item.
I'm not going to let you go past drainage study without asking you a question. I'm sorry. Do you have a sense of cost? On what it's gonna cost
They
to-
bid $20,000. Oh,
no,
for
the project that needs to be done to enable more development to increase
we-
our revenue and our sustainability.
haven't been through the fine details of it yet.
All right. I'll bug you later.
Yep. Last meeting, we talked about bids for the pavement rehab. We did have 5 people bid. Unfortunately, the lowest bidder was still $45,000 over our budget. CDOT was very nice, and they are going to adjust our grant for us to give us those additional funds. So that's a little quick update on that. So we're covered. And those are all the items I have for the update.
Mr. Dean.
Is there any updates in the prairie dog situation? Has it been updated, mitigated, or any more work on that?
Still progressing forward. We have meetings we do flagging the first Wednesday of every month and treatments the first Friday of every month. And that's the way it's going to kind of go on. Next year, we'll probably transition from the city doing it to a contractor doing it. That's all still kind of being worked out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you want to go on to noise abatement program?
Noise abatement program, kind of actually already did the noise abatement program, but rehash a little bit. Flight instructor meetings was kind of my big news this week for noise abatement program, moving forward with that. Again, trying to get all the flight instructors, or at least representatives of all the flight instructor schools in one spot is kind of my vision of that. Eric Dahl, Rocky Mountain Metro, has had a couple so far. He's getting pretty good participation. I have had chats with the one main local flight school here, with the owner of that, Shane, and he seems on board for me grabbing any one of his managers here to go down and do those meetings with them. So so far gotten good, positive results and cooperation on all parts. Let's see, noise abatement.
Can I reiterate I mean, we've heard it from multiple people tonight, emails, whatever, that really improving the website and the access to that noise abatement procedure.
Oh.
It's wonderful that we're sending people, and it's in the AWAS, it's in chart supplement.
Chart supplements, the new
it's
word.
AFD.
Yeah.
Chart supplements, but
You can't call it the FD anymore. It's the chart supplement now.
the last time I did a biannual review, it was an AFD. Just would like to make sure that that's something we're tracking, and
Yep.
I know that's on your radar, but to make sure we talk about it.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that I did have a meeting this week with the director of the city's website. And what we were really focusing on is really cleaning up, because we've had the discussion before about putting a whole page just talking generally about noise. and leaded fuel and stuff like that. And what we decided to do on their kind of input on how the public kind of expects things, it's just to focus on our questions and answers page and really make it robust and clear. They kind of made the comment of like, this is where people are going to go when you go to the first page. That's what they're thinking of. Hey, I've got this question. I need an answer. They're going to go that direction. Let's make that really robust with the questions that you're getting and stuff like that. So had a good meeting last week with them, going over the questions we get. Pulled a lot of that off of the noise complaint log and making sure we're trying to address the best items we can. That's kind of back in their court. They're kind of reviewing all of that, and then we'll proceed forward with getting that changed. They were supposed to be working on that this week. I think they got pushed back a little bit, and they promised that we'd get to it next week and get some good headway made on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And that's, I think, the big news for noise abatement.
Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Chair Earl. One question on the noise abatement. Do you ever go to like trade shows and stuff like that as part of the capacity of your job, or like I do as a city councilman? I attend National League of Cities conferences, and with that, I get a lot of information about different things that are going on with different cities, and sometimes Longmont has presented things, and sometimes all the time other cities are presenting things. What are we hearing across the nation? Is everybody kind of there like, are you kidding me? How long is it going to take to get these quieter airplanes, or that sort of thing? Or while you're there, are you seeing electric plane manufacturers, presenting their wares, and if they are they looking for a airport to kind of be a test site for that type of business
Specifically, in general, I get a lot. I would say a lot. We do get outreach from companies potentially looking, as Colorado is often picked as an area where people want to move their company and stuff like that. So we will get some tech people reaching out. No specific electric aircraft manufacturers have reached out. There's certainly companies that do electric work, but nothing specifically focusing on that. That would be great. That's right now still a very, very small industry, so it's not like we got dozens of startups making full scale electric planes. So that would be kind of a heavy lift to have somebody to bring somebody over. Certainly, was there another?
Well, it was just when I was on council the first time around in 2007, 2011, I served on the Golf Advisory Board, and they were going to almost every one of these trade shows as close as they possibly could to try to either get the latest technology about how to get people to get into the courses and spruce up their image, as well as drive more play on the courses during certain peaks and valleys. And so the thing is that this is kind of the same sort of thinking I'm focused on, that if we could get somebody who would say, we're always looking for new industry to come into Colorado, as you pointed out, and in Longmont. And if somebody was looking for a home, this would be a great opportunity, and use our space there to do more of that. Might encourage more of that type of flights. And then when people do see planes flying over and they're so silently quiet, then it would be where people would be like, hey, that's pretty cool. And maybe we'd get a little less pushback.
And we've had conversations about that with the economic development partnership and stuff like that. We've had that. Of course, that's all kind of goes back to our master drainage review and getting the land opened up so we can actually build buildings and stuff like that. And one of the things I've always kind of held to is I would like to reserve space for like small manufacturing and stuff like that. Would be great to have some of that actually on the field. And honestly, anything moving forward from this point, as far as small manufacturing and aviation was probably going to be at least have some component of electric, if not exclusively electric.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
And Councilmember McCoy, I just want to add, because I get to go, because of my day job, to some of these conferences. So at the Colorado Airport Operators Association conference, which is twice a year, there's almost always someone there talking about unleaded fuels and both the technology and the regulation around that. And I want to say it was last January, maybe it was the spring conference. They had NREL, the Renewable Energy Laboratory, doing a fascinating presentation about electrifying. I lost my train of thought. Electrifying flight training fleets and what it takes in terms of charging infrastructure and everything else. So I mean, it is absolutely being talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe you're at more of those that are targeted towards airports like Longmont than I am, but I mean, it is definitely out there and being talked about.
And to kind of circle back to another one you thought you're having, we certainly do go to trade shows. I max out my budget every year. I unfortunately missed the Green Aviation Trade Show this year because it was the same weekend as the air show. But I did go to the Colorado Airport Operators. I went to the National AAA, American Association of Airport Executives, and I got to go to the General Aviation Conference this year. Heavy topics on, unleaded fuel, noise, and on electric aviation. Of course, when we have the noise conversations, mostly that's California airports and now Colorado. So, and we as I think we were the second airport in Colorado to have a noise abatement program. We get a lot of questions ourselves about how to start structuring noise abatement programs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mr. Meester.
It's my understanding that the bulk of the noise of an airplane that's moved by a propeller is coming from the propeller itself. It's not coming from the engine. So I wouldn't view an electric solution as something that's really going to provide an awful lot of noise abatement. When the propellers go supersonic,
Now we're getting
that
into the weeds. There's definitely some noise savings in it. It does reduce the engine sound itself. I mean, all engines make sound. And on top of that, when most electric planes, when you pull the throttle all the way back, everything shuts off. So even the prop stops. At least the ones that I've personally witnessed being test flown. So there definitely is noise savings to that. The question becomes how much,
precisely.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Jordan.
Living under the pattern, I'll say that the engine noise is when you pull back. That you're getting lined up and you get a lot of what is it when your engine? I can't think of the word all of a sudden. The pop. You get a lot of the popping. Backfire. Thank you. I couldn't think of it. And so you do get that, and you do have that. You do hear the props. You hear the props more on the high-powered planes. The King Air that's really where the noise is coming on that. It's
That's an
whistling.
excellent example.
Yeah,
You have
King
the higher end efficiency jet engines, and they are jet
Where
engines
the
in there.
jet's quieter.
But you can hear the
turboprop
whining
is-
of the
yeah,
prop.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, so that is. And then to answer the question, By Aerospace is at Centennial Airport, and that's George By, and he partnered with Lear. And your segue about not being able to be at the Green Conference, I had invited them, and with Dr. Grunsfeld's help, we tried to get in an electric aircraft in the air show. That was really, I thought
Yep.
that would be a non-issue, that we would be able to do that. We never were able to get it done. So I did want to showcase that at the show, and we didn't get to. One of the things that I've always had on my shopping list here is with LPC that we have the perfect solution to partner at the airport and be with the electric.
Yeah,
They've got to
good point.
have a triangle to fly. They've got to have places to go fuel. And so I've always wanted us to be that airport. And it's still, I'll always push for that. And we've had LPC come and present to us.
Yeah.
And I just think we've got such a unique opportunity with owning our electricity and space at the airport. And then we could be a hub for that traffic. So it's anything you know about, and it was a shame because Levi was looking forward to that conference, and it was a terrible
Yeah.
conflict on the dates. Yeah. So anything you want to do to find out, promote,
Yeah.
I just really.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, like Melinda mentioned, we got the electricity infrastructure, we got the stuff like that, and I think it's a great idea. If we could get an electric manufacturer, that'd be fantastic. It goes with the city's goal. It goes with everything. It'd be great.
Or even to be a fueling station because in California where they've done it, they do have a triangle, so they fly between 3 and can do their cross country and their longer flights, and then we could be a fueling station. So By could go from APA up to us, and if they can find a triangle in there, someplace a third one or back and forth. But I'd love for us to be that, to show up on the map, and that would set us apart and make us quite different.
Levi, I know we've had that discussion before on LPC. Can you remind me, because I thought there was somewhere on the field, and I thought it was the south side, but I could be making this up, that there was extra capacity being put in, or at least extra conduit being put in or something, so it was easy to activate?
Yeah,
Is
so
that-
they did run a great deal of additional conduit, kind of along Rogers Road, if you will, down there. If you can imagine the south end of the airport, it actually dead ends at the airport, but beyond that. And when they were doing that, I had to have a discussion with them, and they tripled the amount of conduit space that they necessarily would need just to be safe. Now, unfortunately, we hadn't had any official engineering studies done or along the effect of what it would take, the airport to do that. But it was a call that the electric made. They said, okay, we can, do this without significantly changing the cost of our project and stuff like that, and hopefully give you guys some extra capacity. So they at least did that for us. If nothing else, they gave us a heads up on what we might have to do in the future. So it was really great.
No, I mean, that coordination is huge while the technology is
Yeah.
being worked out and while the standards come about. But
Yeah,
just
that's
that we're, it's the example of putting an infrastructure then immediately tearing it up to do another project. So at least we're trying to avoid
Yeah,
that.
at least-
Whether we
yes,
get it right
indeed.
or not is a different question.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate that partnership. Okay. Development projects.
Development projects. Guess I don't really have a whole lot of updates on any development projects this week. Any general questions about?
I've got nothing today. No.
Okay.
Before we move on information items, can you do a quick recap on the council meeting on the 19th?
Oh, on the 19th, quick recap, council meeting. Airport did a quick presentation to the board. We talked about general things of the concern that they have been getting questions on, and of course we've been getting questions on through the complaint log and stuff like that, and just general questions, stuff like that. We talked about a lot of the same items we've been talking about tonight: unleaded fuel, electric aviation. We talked about touch and go traffic. We of course focused on noise complaints and stuff like that. I gave a brief breakdown on the complaints we've had this year. And then we also had representation. Peter Kirsch, thank you. I want to make sure, didn't want to misspeak there. Came from Kaplan Kirsch and spoke about some legal issues which are involved around airports and kind of what we can do, what we can't do as far as restrictions and that like go. So that's what occurred on the 19th.
Thank you. Vice Chair Jordan was there. I was there. Two people in the audience, I believe, were both there, if I remember right.
So.
But I really appreciate the discussion that you had, and I especially appreciate that the city had the representation from Kaplan Kirsch there to be able to answer questions and kind of talk through things. I thought that was a valuable discussion.
I think it was a good presentation, and things were well covered, I felt like.
Vice Chair Jordan.
I recommend that if the rest of the board, if you haven't, they're all on YouTube, and if you can watch it, it would behoove you to watch it because you'll see what the hot topics were, what the public had to say, and the input from the attorney was all solid. Of course, he's been doing this a long time, you could tell, and so it was a good meeting, and you get to see the public side of it, and then Levi's presentation. It's worth looking it up and watching it.
And I want to say it was around 9:30 if you guys want to go look, is about the time it was. If you
It
following
wasn't
it.
horribly late by council meeting time.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
it was
wasn't,
late.
It wasn't 2:00 in the morning like the one before that. Right?
It was not. No. Yeah. No, I would second that, Vice Chair Jordan. That it's good to watch it. I've had a follow-up conversation with the mayor since then, since she wasn't there that night. So we
that's
talked through
correct.
some of it just one-on-one as well.
Yeah.
But no, appreciate the discussion from council, and appreciate the fact that they also let us say a few words towards the end of it, which was also really valuable. Councilmember McCoy.
I felt, thank you, Chairman Earl. I felt that some of the biggest complaints were coming from people that see themselves as Longmonters, but were not necessarily in the city limits, and they were kind of at the end of the runway on the northwest side there, and they were like saying it was, talking about that, but the airport had been there for a while, and their Prairie Palace hadn't. So that was kind of a issue that I had, but I didn't fault the Mayor Pro Tem because it's a lot to figure out that screening there and everything like that to then also say, all right, you didn't list your address, and then your address is like going towards Lions basically, and as Vice Chair pointed out here, when you start to take off, you're going to have a louder noise than when you're trying to land, and or as you start once you get to altitude, you're going to probably have it's going to have a lighter noise signature. So clearly, it was just people that lived in that zone that were then taking the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you, Councilmember McCoy. Any other discussion on that, or Levi, any other information items that
I think
we left
that mostly covers it.
Okay.
I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting about, but that's most of it anyway.
We've got no action items on our agenda, so following those information items, we'll move on to our final public invited to be heard. You guys want to change up the order for the second?
Councilmember McCoy, thank you for asking the question about electric infrastructure, electric aircraft. In fact, there are two major manufacturers, and I don't know, about a dozen startups that are building electric aircraft, many of which have what are called FAA conforming prototypes, which are the aircraft that will be certified. And all across the country, airports are installing chargers. Atlantic Aviation, which is the nation's largest FBO chain, I believe now, has installed chargers from Beta Technologies. And typically they're installing aircraft chargers on one side of the fence and then auto chargers on the other side, because once you put in the infrastructure of basically wires, it makes sense to do both. And they've put chargers in New York and Alabama and Mississippi and Florida and California. I don't keep up with the list, but every time I get one of the articles across my desk, Levi gets a forwarded email. So he's been hearing about this for several years now, but it's expanding very quickly. And typically it's the FBO who invests in that. We will not see our FBO do that, I don't think. If they don't have a crew car, which probably is on the services agreement, they're not going to spend that money. But By Aerospace is one of the leading small trainer aircraft, and the other is another company you probably never heard of, but Cessna Aircraft Corporation is actually the largest manufacturer of electric trainers right now. And theirs is certified, and there are fleets springing up around the country at flight schools. So that's already, it's happening. And I would highly encourage Longmont, as I have, and Councilmember Martin has been hearing about this since 2017, that Longmont can, be a regional leader by putting that in. And in fact, that was part of the origin of the sustainability resolution that Marcia and I put together, and then she worked with council, was to get that kind of going. I have worked with the Longmont Economic Development Partnership to try and encourage them to reach out to buy Aerospace. For instance, this was about 4 years ago. They were looking for a manufacturing location. I wanted it to be adjacent to Longmont. They picked another location, and Longmont never responded to the RFP. So we need to be a lot more proactive if we want to engage in that, and I think it's the right answer. So at EAA AirVenture this summer, the Cessna Pipistrel Aero Electra flew the flight line, and the prop is designed that's much more efficient. It doesn't have the supersonic tip problem, and flying up and down the flight line, it sounded like a kid's drone. That's about how loud it was. I think it comes in at like 62 dB, which is 20 times quieter than the FAA requirement for current certification of aircraft, which is, pretty damn quiet. Like way less than a leaf blower or a lawnmower. So, anyway, Levi gets a lot of email from me on that. And if you're going to be the new representative for the AAB, I can. We don't know. Okay. You've got a month to tell. All right. I'll keep track of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Store, 229 Grant Street. Chairman Earl, members of the board. Forgive me, I'm a little bit of a stickler sometimes. I used to work for a master plan community, work for an HOA. One of our things was governance control. So I would encourage Levi to take a look around the airport. I think I spoke earlier about storage within hangars, and it's supposed to be what have you. The other thing you can really easily look at is just look at the abandoned cars that are parked on the airport property. Right across from the flight deck, there's a camper and a Buick. Registration plates that have been out of date for over a year. I think the airport policy is 72 hours for a vehicle to be parked outside of the hangars. So getting the airport cleaned up a little bit would be good. If you guys are giving away free storage of trailers and stuff, please let me know. I've got a trailer I'd love to store down there for nothing. It'd be great. So if that's the case, let me know. Other than that, probably be good if you get it cleaned up and what have you. Thanks.
Thank you.
What's that? How big is your trailer? 5x8.
Seeing no one else out there, I will close our final public invited to be heard. We're on to board, council reps, and staff comments. Board members, you first. Vice Chair Jordan.
Just with all the rest of this discussion and the FBO discussion, I'll just add this at the moment because today was working with our lodging partner here, and we were looking at events that are coming in next year, and it's always, because of where my office is, it's Ironman and a lot of competitive events. And she was asking about Sundance Film Festival, and did I know anything because I work in the film festival stuff. And I haven't heard. I think that decision is getting really close to being made, but if they select Boulder, the number of private jets that will come in, and they're going to have that, it's going to be it could potentially be up to Fort Collins to accommodate that.
Oh, yeah.
Through here, through Broomfield, and potentially, and probably Denver. And so, again, to the FBO, our perpetual conundrum about our FBO, that won't happen. Once we're approved, it's not going to happen in 2025. I don't know what year they're thinking they're going to start it, but it could be as soon as 2026 because of BIF being here and having all that infrastructure already figured out. And I'll probably see them this weekend, and I was curious to ask them if they're going to participate in that. But the point being, as we were having that conversation, the light went off, and I thought, man, that is a lot of jet traffic along the Front Range coming in for up to 2 weeks. So, and if we don't have an FBO that can keep jet fuel on hand, and we don't have, rental car fleet and a way to prepare for something like that and participate and leverage it, we'll miss that opportunity. And again, that comes back to the FBO. So I guess in addition to noise abatement, one of our items maybe is what to do about our FBO. And with something like that coming in, we wouldn't be able to move quickly enough to make major changes, but there are some ways we could be attractive to bring in as many jets as we could and service them, and tie downs and fuel and all those things. So I'll be watching to see when they make that decision. We'll all see it in the paper. I won't know before anybody else does, but it's something to put on our radar, some event like that could have a huge impact and a benefit for a short period of time. And with our infrastructure the way it is now, I don't know. I mean, we certainly couldn't accommodate much with what we've got. So that was just something to kind of put out on the radars when they make that decision. I think it's coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I can add a little bit to that. I would actually disagree with you if we couldn't accommodate it. We have full-size fuel tanks on the airfield, and they can be filled. It's just a point of communicating with them.
Yeah.
They have 2 operating jet trucks now, and since I violated them on that, they got new engines, and they've both been running fine since then.
Good.
So as far
Okay.
as fuel capacity goes and ramp tie-down space, we could certainly accommodate the jets. We're getting more back at the point of what we want our FBO to be like moving forward, what we want to look like, how friendly we want it to be face of this city. So I think we're getting more. That's kind of where we should focus. We do have the fuel coverage right now. We certainly have the ramp space. The question becomes, what do we want to see in an FBO as a city, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other board member comments? Councilmember McCoy, anything you'd like to add this evening?
Thank you, Chair Earl. I just always enjoy this. It's I learn something new every time I come to the Airport Advisory Board. I was on it back in the day, and until we hear who gets appointed in January, and then we'll have maybe a reshuffle. I'm going to throw my hat in to be on this board. I've enjoyed it and like the people and feel like I can do some good. And again, to Mr. Stewart's point, we probably want to make sure that folks are keeping things there. If we're going to potentially have, in a few years, maybe the likelihood of something like Sundance, we want to put our best foot forward. We can't change the building right away, but we can make sure that we're prepared in all kinds of other places and not have anybody going, why is that car sitting there that doesn't have tags, that sends up red flags and stuff like that. But I also felt like when Boulder was kind of being a little wishy-washy about whether they were going to have an airport or not going to have an airport, or whether they were going to develop on their airport and kind of get rid of it, I felt like that at times maybe sent a message that now we should probably do certain things, whether it be our main station there, and as well as maybe a few other things that might attract some of those folks that felt like, can we be sure that they're going to, continue to do what they do there? And one thought is in my head, I'd love to see gliders. I think that's an attractive sort of activity that people do as kind of like, hey, I did this once in my life, or I got into this in my retirement, and maybe there's a spot that would be logical to put a catapult or something sort of thing like that, and include that because it would just be just one more thing. It's kind of like when the skydivers were there. At first, everybody was pulling their hair out, and then I said this before, people then all of a sudden started thinking, couldn't they imagine the airport without them? So it's just something that I think we should look at. More activity, maybe changes the dynamic of what goes on there, and other things like that. And yet it's all still aviation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Councilmember McCoy. We appreciate you stepping in and being with us, regardless of who joins us in January. We're grateful for your contributions and hope we'll see you here. Mm-hmm. And I think just on the topic of changing board members, council will appoint new ones on the 17th, so that's Tuesday. So that will be the vote. And we obviously made our recommendations last month, but they have that vote on Tuesday. Staff comments, or Mr. Salamatian first.
I hope that I will see everyone next month, but if I don't, I want to give everyone thanks for the time that you guys have spent in educating me about aviation and local aviation. So I've learned a ton. I've really appreciated my time here, and I hope to see you guys again, but if I don't, thank you all for this opportunity.
I hope we'll see seeing you again, too. You were recommended, so. And Mr. Menza was as well, who was trading emails with me today, and does apologize. He's missed a couple meetings for a few issues, but will be, assuming he's reappointed, be back in January as well with you. Staff comments, Levi, anything to add?
I think we're good.
All right. With that, then, I will call our December 12th, 2024 meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much and have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Supposed to bang the gavel.